Hi, I just did a full video, like an hour-long video on this subject, and there was like an audio issue. Couldn't hear it at all, and I was like, oh no. So I have to redo it, but I mean, I remember pretty much what I said, so I'll just like get back into it. Basically, yesterday I had this very strong intuition that if Prince Harry did not leave Meghan Markle for 3 years or up, that she would try to like fake his death, like either by like drowning in their pool or like accidental death in his sleep, like some sort of overdose or something like that, because like she would no longer find him useful. In fact, he'd be like in her way in terms of what she wants to do next, whether it's like marry up or it's just too much of the same old with her for her. Okay, so I really hope the audio is working right now because I don't want to do this 3 times. But I feel like I should get this video out because when I get an intuition that's strong, like they're generally correct. So the things I was getting into was like, okay, the danger aspect of the timing. So you know, um, okay, so I got into also the reasons why it's hard for him to leave her right now, and that is that he's too much into like a pleaser type of habit where she'll say something and then he'll feel the need to react or answer it. But like if you're dealing with someone that's difficult on a regular basis, you don't always have to be answering in the moment. You can just be like, okay, well, I know that's important to you, so I'm going to think about it and have a good answer for you by tomorrow. And then that gives you some time to not be in that like sort of tennis match of someone hits a ball into your court and you have to hit it back. What I tell my clients is like if someone hits a ball into your court, you can like let it bounce and roll into the edge, like where the fence is, and just not hit it back. Like you don't have to get into that. You can answer things in your way, like at an appropriate time. But you don't want to always be in that defensive, reactive mode. So that's one thing that's stopping him from moving forward and having better boundaries. The other thing is he feels that he's maybe not welcome. Like people have voiced his, ousting of like the royal family, and so he sort of feels like he said this, but I mean, family, if there is love between him and his family members, if he came back without the same old BS, like if he came back like today's a new day, it's my intention to have a peaceful interaction with you guys because I care about you. I want my kids to know you and I want to be family with you. I enjoy that. Like I liked it before and I want to continue. And I was being I was letting someone else run the show um, because Megan was triggering him by using like certain sentiments or um, issues that like he felt like he can match in terms of importance. So he's like, okay, well, yeah, that is that, like whatever the issue was, it's like, okay, that's like a real hot topic. Okay, I can't just say like I like my family. Um, so he needs to reestablish his own boundaries and his own foundation because the foundation he has with Megan is rocky and constantly moving. I was saying in the last reading that had no audio that some people in this life are just kind of joyful disruptors. that's just their vibe. Like they like to get into something and find something wrong with it, expose it, like, push the chairs over and, spill the drinks and, whatever. So like that's more her vibe, and that's never gonna stop. And you don't have to say like, oh, those people are terrible. Like they play a role in life. There's some people who are builders. There's some people who are disruptors. There's some dreamers. Like we all have our different roles. And like one thing I compare her sort of vibe to is like, let's say you're in a relationship with someone, everything's going well, and then she comes in there and like, turns them against you or seduces them, and you're just like, what? Like, and you could get mad at that person, but then maybe in hindsight, you're like, I didn't want to date that person anyway. Thank you. In a way, thank you for that quick and decisive work that you did on my behalf. Like, so you don't have to get mad at her for being who she is, but you can like decide, I don't want to live with someone who's acting like that all the time because it makes me nervous and unhappy. Like that's fair. So he could decide that he likes someone who likes tradition. He's part of a tradition, even if the royal family has rejected him to some degree, either on paper or vocally. I feel the presence of Prince Charles saying some like pretty mean stuff, just like, you're no longer part of the whatever it is. And it might have something to do with his biological father and maybe not being Prince Charles. Like if you look at the faces of Prince Harry and Prince William, they look like they have two different dads. There's no question about that. So if that's part of why Prince Charles is rejecting it, that doesn't mean the entire royal family and Diana's side, like there's not complete rejection there. And I think Prince Charles, because he's like a pretty flawed person himself, and his siblings, like I don't know all the details about all the siblings of Prince Charles's generation, but like certainly Prince Andrew, so room for improvement with the royal family in general. So he could easily go back like without Meghan and just be like, we've all, they don't have to go over the past. It's just like, I'm here with good intentions. Like, when can I have lunch with you? Like, you want to go for a horseback ride, or like, what can I do that's helpful around here? So because it's like painful and kind of backwards to keep like trolling over the past. So, okay. So these are some ways in which it would be easy if he could change his mind about how he interacts with Meghan conversationally and planning wise. And then also he can feel like there's always an open door with his family in the UK. And I also felt like in the last reading that he should spend some time with the Spencers, because he's 100% definitely Diana's son. And they're like a really old family, English family, and like they're, like if he wants to really feel grounded in something real, like there's that. Yeah, and I was seeing him spend maybe more time in like their Scottish castle more than like in London. He needs like a little change of scene. He can't be that same guy like hitting the clubs, in the press, whatever. So like there's still people that can visit him in Scotland, or he can like maybe just get back in touch with nature a bit, like spend some quality time with his kids, teaching them stuff that he enjoyed as a kid, having to do with living in the UK. And like, it's a very specific kind of ecosystem there, and like it's, Scotland's beautiful to walk around. It's like kind of spooky, but like very beautiful. I went there one time, and I want to go back when it's really warm. it's one of those like cold and damp I mean, that's why it's so fertile and whatever, but like, I'm not really like a wool sweater, even though I live in Canada. I'm not like, ooh, I love sweaters. Like, I'd rather be like in the Caribbean or something. But anyway, Scotland's beautiful. You know, I don't drink alcohol, and I don't eat sausages and stuff. So it's like, I have to like bring my own or eat the plants there, eat fish or something. But anyway, it's beautiful. So I could see him doing, like, let's say his other family members are busy doing stuff, traveling, representing the royal family, or they're doing stuff in London, or, you know, signing papers or whatever. He could be the guy who's like at the other castles doing cool stuff and reaching out to the community in ways that they need him to fill a role that and something that he's good at and he genuinely cares about. So I see sort of that being a positive avenue for him if you were to go back. And I also said that he could have his kids maybe be educated in high school and possibly university in the UK. Personally, like, having met people from France and the UK and people in the States, like, who've had high degrees in university, like, my 2 cents is like the European and UK education is a bit like has a higher standard. And also, like, if they're meeting a bunch of Americans now as kids, like, it's good to meet some other people, get some different points of view, and just have generally more friends because you're meeting people in a new country, so that would benefit them too. And maybe by that age, like, Megan will be like, okay, you know, maybe if they, let's say they divorced and she has a second family, she'll be busy, you know, she'll be like, okay, yeah, go to high school. Like, you're, you know. So, okay. Like, yeah, and so in terms of the danger, I felt like her kind of musing over, like, well, we could have a big pool party and he could like fall in the pool, or like he could like be kind of framed as taking drugs and like having too much, like something like that, like, because she can't divorce him because it'll make her look bad because she's really into like her image and stuff and being like the victim. So in order for her to be a victim exiting this relationship, he'd have to I don't even want to say it, but like she sort of I feel like her beginning to think about this has begun, and that's why I picked up on it. So it would be better for him not to like live with her, and like he might be staying right now for the kids' sake, but actually I don't feel like the kids would be in danger if they were apart, because like she may care for them, and she might probably has like domestic help, so she wouldn't be the only person caring for them anyway, most likely. So I would say, like, don't worry about that, and like having shared custody is okay in this case because it would spare his life. And it would allow him to make peace with his family in whatever way seems appropriate. You know, Prince Harry needs to honor himself and go like, you know, his mom's really beloved person. She married into the royal family. Whether he's the son of somebody else is irrelevant. He's still part of the royal family and has a role to play. And if you can find something that's like appropriately suiting him, where other people don't feel like he's infringing upon their purpose, that's all good. It seems like there's a lot of stuff to do in that family that there's enough to go around. And if Prince Charles wants to, you know, even, yeah, that's the other thing. Like, I felt like I felt like Prince Charles's voice being like saying like one or two sentences that were really like mean, like maybe true, but mean. Like he didn't have to say it that way. He said it in a way that was unfatherly, unloving, which would have been very painful for Harry. So, but it's kind of like get over it, because like most people are not good communicators, and I would say that Prince Charles is a known poor communicator since like forever. So like it's just like how he rolls. Like I can relate to that. I'll just say that much. Like, so you just kind of go like that's how they communicate, and you can't change that. So you just have to go, okay, look at it a bit further back and go, this is the information that was transmitted, and that information may be factual and worth considering, and we don't have to stress over like how it was delivered and with what kind of like sassy drama or whatever Prince Charles might have been dishing at that moment. I really hope the microphone's working. I don't want to do this again. But I'm not going to turn it off and start it on again. I'm just going to try to finish. So you need, I would say to Prince Harry, like you need to leave, and sooner rather than later. And it doesn't mean giving up on something. Like you can see it like her purpose, her mission is more like on a level of being seen, communicating, whether what she's communicating is like worth people's audience. I'm not so sure, but like, because I don't find her particularly gripping orator. And it's not like some leaders are just like, enlightening you and like galvanizing people, and like it's more her thing is more just about her suffering, but it's like she's suffering in like a really nice house with healthy kids and a doting husband and like 3 square meals a day. There's other people suffering too, and it's like anyhow, like I'm not that interested in what she's talking about. Like, I'll just say that much. And it might just be the manner in which she's saying it, which I find kind of, because she has a lot of body language and statement analysis kind of red flags in the way that she communicates, which many people have remarked upon. I don't need to get into that. It's like the writing's on the wall. So Prince Harry can just be like, you do you, and what's important to me is like, I appreciate the fact that we came together and made this family. Maybe maybe we shook out the dusty blankets a bit to get the truth out on some aspects of life, which people do anyway. It's part of life. And it's like, now I want to get back to what's important to me and my values. And that might mean living in the UK. Like, it might mean working with his family and having shared custody with his kids. And that's okay. And it's like, some people are just like blessed, it's like, I feel blessed to have my kids and I don't need to be living with this person I don't really vibe with. Like, that's okay. It's better to be apart if you're making each other miserable. It's better for the kids to not be together unhappy. And I also felt that, okay, let's say Prince Harry goes back to the UK primarily, like I know the custody will work out in some way or the other. Maybe he's taking trips back and forth. Maybe that's what I was feeling initially, like maybe a 2-week trip and then maybe like a 2-month trip, and those kind of like ebb and flow depending on where he needs to be. But he's still like building those bridges back, and in the UK, not talking over like, oh, this happened, that happened. Like he doesn't need to dish about oh yeah, that was the other thing. He doesn't need to dish about like why they broke up. He doesn't need to have a sit down with anyone about anything. He can just like do the work that he wants to do and like no longer take part in these like, how do you feel? Like what, you know, like that's private. There's a reason why those conversations are private. Like I know there's this like, like since whatever the 60s or the 80s, there started to be these shows where people are pouring out their emotions publicly. But that hasn't always been the case. It's a fairly recent development based on selling soap and cars. So, you know, it's not necessary for people to air their dirty laundry in public. But I do feel like one hesitation Harry might have about breaking up is that Meghan would just go off telling all the secrets and stuff. But like, or whatever, like not necessarily secrets, but like just talking negatively about him in public. But just like know that that's how she's gonna act regardless, and people eventually will just like turn the volume down or switch stations, or like it's just what she's gonna do. And maybe it's better that you know that now rather than later. Because you might otherwise miss out on like a really beautiful relationship he could have where someone actually loves him, that would just make him, make him feel like the, Sleeping Beauty who was woken up by the prince. In this case, he's Sleeping Beauty. I do feel that there is, oh my gosh, there is like one or two really beautiful relationships he could have back in the UK that would just revitalize him and make him like feel whole again. So that's worth I was gonna say that's worth the drive to Acton. It's like I used to live in Toronto, and there was always this commercial about like you got to drive out to this outlying town where they sell antiques and stuff. But anyway, like worth the flight to the UK. Only like Mike Myers and people from Toronto would get that reference. Okay, old people. Okay, here we are back talking about, so Meghan would of course have a bunch of like, oh, woe is me, he left me, however she wants to surf that wave, to her benefit. And then meanwhile, Prince Harry's like walking through the heather with his kids and making new friends and doing some nice things for whatever. I keep saying the UK, but I don't want to. I want to say England, but I don't want to exclude all the other territories of it. But anyway, that bunch of islands over there. Without like getting into it with, maybe he can just be like, okay, lesson learned. I don't do sit downs with people. I mean, Prince Andrew didn't fare too well sit down. He ended up having to shell out like millions of dollars to make that case go away because of his interview. So, okay. So these are the ways in which he could find his way back and to not. Yeah, and the other thing, if I didn't already say this, what I said in the other video is like Prince Charles's manner of speaking is abrupt and awkward, and that's just who he is. And you can just filter out the big rocks from from the sand and really see like what was he saying. And it's like, well, maybe it's true. Like maybe it's true that he's not like his dad. Like that's okay, but that doesn't make Prince Harry irrelevant. Like he is Diana's son still. If it were the case that he had a different dad, and he still has a role to play, and Diana was a very beloved person that everyone considered part of the royal family, and therefore he's valid in that sense. So like you don't have to always be reactive to how people present information, and the notion of diplomacy needs to be used in his life, where it's like, well, he needs to use diplomacy with Megan. It's like, well, I want to live this way, and it appears you want to live this way, and that's uncomfortable to me. I feel very blessed we have kids, but I want to like live my life according to me and what's important to me, and I don't want to stop you from living how you want to live. So let's just do this sensibly and live apart. Um, and then she won't have to concoct some way of getting him out of her life, like when she has a new goal, like I want to marry so and so, or I want, like, you know, I need sort of a new set of clothes kind of vibe, like, you know, reinvent herself. And she just really, I just get like a really creepy feeling about like her, because she could never divorce him and still look good in the press, so he would have to like pass, you know. So it's like either he has to divorce her or this, yeah, anyway, so that's pretty dark. So I just really recommend highly that he leave her sooner rather than later, and just have faith that things will go fine and that you don't have to always rake over the past. And if people want to sit you down back in England and say like, we didn't like this, that, and the other, instead of being reactive or feeling wounded, you just go like, I hear you, these are important points, and moving forward, I would like to have this type of relationship with you and have some service that doesn't step on the toes of William. And, you know, and I will no longer, of my own volition, have these sit downs with people because they're not productive and fun and valuable, you know, and just get on with his life and enjoy his kids, and, you know. All right, so because like Megan, and it's well documented with people reviewing her, like analyzing her interviews, that she has like 1,000,001 red flags, body language wise, and also statement analysis wise. So clearly, you know, playing with a different deck of cards than the average person. And in order to have a living with you healthy relationship, you really have to be on the same page. You really have to have the same rule book. I know when I had like a hiccup in my marriage, like I was like, okay, let's talk to someone so we know like what is generally accepted as the right way to act in this situation, because like we can agree on our, you know, theories. So that's like, he might just not have the same priorities as her, and that's okay. Just like we did, we made kids together. That's so beautiful. Thank you. And, you know, do your thing. I'm gonna do my thing over here. And if you need to trash talk me, that's on you. I'm not gonna do that because like it's not good for the kids. So, and it's not like his thing. Like he wasn't always doing that before he met her. So I can imagine that he'll feel pretty comfortable like no longer accepting those types of interviews anymore. Okay, I really hope the microphone's working. So I really hope that whether he hears this message or not, like I hope that he finds his way to safety and happiness and fulfillment in his life that I feel like does not include Megan on a day-to-day basis. I feel like it's more over in England and Scotland. And like, don't see things as failures. Like everyone, even if you stay in a relationship, you're always kind of like renovating your life. Like, and so it's just better to, and like, just because someone might be wanting to control the narrative and control you, like letting them do that isn't healthy. Like, So remove the element of danger and like the bad habits, like, you know, and and if the person's a narcissist, they will react strongly and negatively to you removing their control of you. And then you just keep living your life. Like you can't set your watch to someone healing, because sometimes people with some mental illness, like, they never heal, they just manage their situation. I'm not an expert on mental illness, but I've encountered people who have it in my life, such that that is how I deal with it now. So so just like see the best in, like, for Prince Harry to see the best in a situation of going, but there are things he loves about it. There are aspects of his family interaction he does love, and if he comes back and he's not like tail between his legs and wanting to talk over the past, like, if he can just like go in there and be like, I'm so glad to see you, I want to be authentically me and get back to the things I love, and some of the things I love are spending time with you guys and having a purpose in this family that I'm a part of, and whatever seems appropriate, I'm game for, because I feel like I wasn't born into this family by accident. Like, there's a reason, and I will no longer kneecap this family by having these ridiculous like interviews all the time with like moody wipes and like it's not helpful. It's not healthy. Yeah, because like a lot of these interview shows were made initially to just like sell products in commercials. It's like they're not really helping, and yeah, I think you could see that it didn't really help him to do those interviews. Anyway, so go back home, spend time with the Spencers, spend time in Scotland. Don't party in the London scene. Just be grounded and authentic, and be a good dad to your kids, and divorce. that's what I was picking up. So I hope you enjoyed this reading. I really hope that the audio worked, and if you like, share, and subscribe, or just subscribe, that would be awesome. So I'm trying to reach 1,000. If you're part of that, I appreciate you. Thanks.